Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Simone.
How are you?
Very well.
You've
very
had a
well.
good week?
Very good week. Very busy week. A very successful week for our vendors.
Yes, and I've noticed you've sold a couple before auction.
I have indeed. Great results.
So tell us a little bit about vendors' motivations for selling prior to auction.
So a vendor might want us to bring things to a head for a number of reasons. Number one, it could be nerves. It could be nerves that they want this done and dusted prior to the auction date. It could be a matter of convenience as well. So the fact that we can bring things to a head at the right price with buyers and they can move on in a very quick manner. Sometimes our vendors go out and buy properties.
Yes.
Whilst we're still in the middle of a campaign.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they will ring us and say, "Eek, I've just bought something. Can
Yeah.
you quickly sell it?"
Yeah.
So then we're given those instructions and we get about ringing all the buyers and bring things to a head very quickly. So when they have, I guess, confidence in us as agents that we are able to bring things to a head and we are able to get them a result where they are willing to sell at, I'd say most of our vendors are very commercial and want things moved on quickly. No vendor wants their property on their market for a long period of time. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest bugbears of vendors is having their property on the market longer than 30 days.
Yes, I think we hear often from our clients that one of the things that keep them up at night is like whether it's going to sell at auction on auction day. But it's part of the process. I think it does mean that there are some vendors who really understand the strategy of auction and that end date. And if they can bring it to a head earlier, it can be a very good result and outcome for them.
And I think if your agent has very clear, transparent communication with the vendor and actually helps the vendor understand, as you mentioned before, the process and understand our strategy and how we're dealing with the interest in their property, then a lot of times the agent and the vendor will put their heads together and we're on the same page and say it is actually in the best interest to sell the property.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I think we were talking a little bit before the cameras were rolling about why do buyers sometimes put in an offer prior to auction or even in the first weekend where we have that. Certainly in this time where perhaps it's a little bit of a flatter market, the buyers have more confidence in putting forward an offer that may be close to the top of the range or a little bit over. What they're seeing is that it's not flying away in this climate, and so it gives them more of a gauge of where a good offer, a good strong offer would be.
And why would a buyer do that, do you think?
Well, I think that there are degrees of confidence with buyers, and certainly if they're finance ready, if they've got all their legals and they've got kind of a plan for what they want to do, it can be a very good strategy to rattle the competition by upending the campaign and putting in a very strong offer.
I feel that buyers who do that, who do put offers in prior to auction, are those that have been in the market for some time and they may have missed out on properties prior.
That's a good
point. And so they're sort of hurt and they're sick of looking at properties every weekend and they just want to get in. They find that ticks the boxes, let's just buy it.
Yeah.
And they understand the process as well because perhaps they've been in the market for 6 months.
Yeah.
And they've made offers.
And I think you were talking the other week, I was hearing you saying to someone about trying to gauge the bottom of the market and buyers who try to outsmart themselves by, we want to get the best bargain. I think often it's much better for a buyer mindset to think about how long am I going to be in this property for?
Absolutely.
If I'm going to be here for 5 years, 10 years, if it's an investment, if it's my principal place of residence, it's not about finding the bottom of the market, it's about securing the property.
So true. And often those who are waiting to pick the bottom of the market will miss it.
Yes.
Because they're waiting for so long and they are, as you say, trying to be a little bit too smart.
Certainly when we're working with our colleagues, the buyer advocates, that would be a strategy that they would use with a client who's perhaps been in the market for a little time and is finance ready, and they put in a very, very competitive offer, often before everyone else is ready or everyone else is still seeing what else is coming on the market and trying to decide which is my top property, and then suddenly it's like, well, it's going to be taken away from you, it's going to be sold.
I think a great strategy for buyers is to place the offer, if it's prior to auction, 3 days prior to the auction,
Yes, that's a good point.
because they're then making the offer under auction rules, which means there's no cooling off period,
Yeah.
which means their offer is unconditional for the vendor.
Absolutely, and a vendor will certainly consider
Yes.
very much an offer that's going to be unconditional.
It's a lot stronger, isn't it?
It is certainly, yes.